Yo, what is going on, everybody? What's going on? AKA, we are back, and we are continuing our Walter Hill trifecta. We're talking Walter Hill movies. We started last week. We talked Streets of Fire, an underrated and amazing movie by Walter Hill. We had a great time talking that film. And this week, we're going to go back 2 years prior, before Streets of Fire, and talk 48 hours. I'm joined by my co-host, Varangian Vigilante. How are you doing, sir?
Doing very well. Finally cooled down a little bit here, so it's survivable. And of course, having a fantastic week, watching the double feature of 48 hours and another 48 hours. And I haven't seen those in a long time. The last time I watched this as a teenager, and I watched it, of course, back then still in German, because when it was on TV, I also sent you, of course, the German trailer. Yeah. So you can, again, hear the crazy German dubbing of Eddie Murphy. The voice actor passed away, sadly, already. So there was actually with the new Axel Foley movie, Beverly Hills Cop, there was this huge discussion, who can be the new voice of Eddie Murphy. I'm like, I give a fuck and watch it in English anyway now. But you know,
it's funny how you say who can be the new voice of Eddie Murphy in German.
Yeah. This was a thing, there were online discussions, and people were saying, "Oh, you have to get this guy because he can imitate that guy," and it was almost like more than some political discussions, for the importance, who's gonna be the new voice of Eddie Murphy in German.
That's this high title.
Yeah, but the other thing, when I watched it back in the day in German, especially the first one, German is a very intense language. Can be very, very intense. And
it was intense hearing the trailer.
Yeah. However, I forgot if they just, sometimes there's also censorship in dubbing when certain terms are just differently translated. But I don't remember the first movie to have so many racist lines. It was tough to find a quote that you can use.
I wanted to be very careful when choosing one from the first movie, because certain lines would be that don't fly well.
And sometimes even that when English is not your first language and you just that's a harmless word. No, actually that means
we don't want to be live. And yo, what's that quote VV got underneath his name? That's crazy. You wild for that, VV.
Yeah, that's right. I said it. but on the other hand, of course, Walter Hill is the exact opposite of a racist, and when he uses dialogue that, he wants to show actually how the dialogue, how the conversation was back in the day in the 80s, and that what I also hear from all my American friends that sometimes cops don't always use the language they should use.
But it's authentic to what that time period was.
Exactly.
I mean, it's not far removed from the civil rights movement, the Jim Crow laws. Even Archie Bunker from All in the Family in the 70s. He was a bigoted man that used certain terms, and we saw that on TV, on regular TV. So it's still not too far of a move from that era. So they were still able to get away with a lot of that stuff that today it'd be the hell, you need to change the dialogue and that, because this ain't blind.
Of course, except if you like a certain director, then it's always everybody's equal, but some people are more equal.
Yeah.
But the most important thing is when using such a dialogue is, of course, not to glorify it, but to show actually hey, that this audience you get actually the you actually get the memories wait a moment, that's not okay.
And the thing you brought it up backstage is that yeah, he was throwing those words out, but Reggie Hammond had a way of countering that.
Yeah,
And whenever Jack threw out those words, Reggie Hammond just laughed it off and counteract with those words to offend him. You know, and that to me is what canceled out. And by the end, they had respect for each other because nobody felt overwhelmed or demeaned by it because they knew how to handle it.
exactly. You know, this is a really wonderful thing that the movie shows that, like, you know, they overcame this. But it's also the other thing is how the second movie starts, basically, that destroys all the build-up they had.
Well, the second movie, and I'm glad I rewatched it because I was thinking like the first movie always say that Reggie only has 6 months to go, but then the second movie comes. Wait a minute, it's been 5 years. He's still in jail. What the fuck? He got set up. Somebody put some stuff in him in the jail, which extended his stay. And that has something to do with the plot with the Iceman. So, yeah. You know, it was good that they established that because I'm like, that was between 82 and 90. That's a long gap between movies. So they had to say why he's still in prison when he only has 6 months.
They should have like another movie, like another 5 years.
Yeah. So I felt like they had more contentious anger towards each other in the second movie more than the first. Because the first one was all about Jack Cates not respecting Reggie. And then the second one, it's about Reggie not respecting Jack.
Yeah, but I also think that the reason there was more animosity was because in the first one, you know, they just did the first experience, the first adventure. And the second one started with broken trust.
Yeah.
And broken trust is very hard to overcome. Especially when you serve 5 fucking years in prison.
5 more years.
Yeah.
And your porch blow up. You roll over in the bus 17 times or 20 times, whatever.
And like Michael says, you know, when you feel so long in prison, your dick gets hard even if the wind blows.
Even the terminology of wanting to get some back in 82 is vastly different, you know, and how people say things. But, you know, we're going to dive into the first 48 hours because I love how the movie starts right there in the prison, you know, where the prisoners are working, and we see the villain Gans, played by the great James Remar, and we get introduced to Billy, who comes in there saying, you know, my car is almost out of gas and I need some tune up and stuff like that. I need water. And it was basically a ploy to get Gans out and free him.
So Sonny fucking Lantern. You know, I think he died of a heart attack. You know, with that intensity, it was no wonder. One crazy son of a bitch, you know, rest in peace, Sonny Lantern. Yeah, you know, he's like the only actor, like in Predator, like, you know, who got a bodyguard so that so the bodyguard prevents him from starting fights with others. And there's just like not a single scene I've ever seen on screen. You know, like best of the best too.
Yep.
Of course, like Predator, also like he in 48 Hours, where Sonny Lantern is not at 100% intensity.
And he when you put drugs in him, like Action Jackson,
yeah, oh, yeah.
He's off the chain.
He is fucking Sonny Lantern. He's also one of the unsung heroes of either being a henchman or being like an assistant to the protagonist. Like, either way, if he's a good guy or a bad guy, you don't want to be close to him.
But yeah, like I would say before, like this dude always playing a Billy in the movie. Like what was the whole point of always naming him Billy? That was always funny when he's Billy here, he's Billy in Predator. It's like, damn, he loved that name.
And of course, David Patrick Kelly is also in the movie because we know him most from Sully. He's also like, of course, a scene where he's like not he was like a nice guy, not a funny guy. But he is also a very interesting character because, of course, he's like also like a crook, but he's being used by the even worse guys.
Yeah, because he was once part of the gang with Gans and Reggie and stuff, and Reggie got put in prison. Both of them, him and Gans. Gans got out, and Gans went to Luther because he knows Luther know where the money is that they stole a couple years back. So, Kelly always played the scumbag characters. He got his start in the Warriors, which we talked last year.
Yeah.
And ever since then, every role he's had has always been a scumbag. He's an underhand. He's always, he's the snitch, like in The Longest Yard, the second one with Adam Sandler. So he always plays.
That's also the movie I have to talk in the future.
All the wrestlers and football players.
Yeah.
But yeah, he always plays like a scumbag character, so he was perfect in this film. But here in 48 hours, even if he's kind of scummy, he's doing everything to save his girl. Because his girlfriend kept her as collateral for him to get the money.
Yeah, and Rima and Sonny Landham are the last two guys you want to have a girlfriend with. And also like I said, the Rima did such a fantastic job as Gans, especially since when you have Sonny Landham as a henchman, to be like the bigger threat next to him is not an easy task, but he nailed it. Like he's like one guy you see from the beginning, and you just wanna, you just wanna see that he gets what he deserves.
And then another funny thing about this film is, we mentioned Brian James. You also have Jonathan Banks in this film at the beginning. Yeah. And it's funny how he's the inspector here. This movie was Eddie Murphy's first role. 2 years later, they're in Beverly Hills Cop together. He's the henchman to make Victor Maitland. And then 2 years after that, in 1986, he teams up with Brian James to be henchman in Armed and Dangerous. So it's like those guys are like legendary henchmen and legendary villains in most films.
And that's also the thing, what I heard once from, I forgot which actor it was, but he says, if you stop trying to be a leading man and become a character actors are never out of a job.
No. And he plays his part in a small role. They go the investigative lead where Gans and Billy are, and Kate's backed them up, and the whole thing goes haywire. He gets shot, his partner gets shot, and they both die. And what's worse is that he gets shot with Jack Cates' gun, because Cates had a hostage, and he told him to give over the gun, so he gives the gun when his partner told him not to do it.
Yeah, and when in the police, I think the worst thing that can ever happen is when you use your service weapon, which is not only humiliating, but also, let's say, I wouldn't want to be Jack at the end of the movie doing all the fucking paperwork for the whole movie.
Yeah,
I get it. There's probably half a year of paperwork.
The thought of not only you giving this man your revolver, but now he's going around and actually killing people with it. That's even worse.
Exactly, especially since it's also traceable.
But man, like that standoff there at the hotel was pretty intense.
Yes.
And again, it's a credit to the director.
And what he also said in the pre-show, what is so interesting, what I also forgot is how late Eddie Murphy was introduced in the movie, because at that point Eddie Murphy was like a no-name stand-up comedian, and Nolte was like the star. While, as you said, in the second movie it was turned around because Eddie is the big star and Nolte is the old guy.
Yeah, I mean, Eddie Murphy's production was all over the second film.
Yeah. Was Nick Nolte ever young? I think he always looked like 40 to 50, but not not us today 40s or 50, but back then 40s and 50s.
I think a lot of folks back then aged a lot quicker than most people today, because I know you've seen the famous meme of this was Arn Anderson at 27 years old. Like, damn, we thought he was in his 40s.
Yeah, I always thought, like, I always, like, as long as I watched wrestling, I always thought that Arn Anderson was just 1 year away from retirement. the same as Kevin Sullivan or Jake the Snake Roberts. When it's like, oh, this was one of Jake the Snake's first matches, when it was like in his early 20s or something. It's like,
and you look at him like, he already looked like he's damn near 40.
Yeah. I mean, Hulk Hogan was born with a beard, and
Hulk Hogan was balding by the time he got popular.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they did something to these people today, man, to make them look young. Cause back then they looked old when they were in their 20s.
Exactly. So we can be happy that today is not the case. But nevertheless, Nick Nolte, fantastic choice for the protagonist as a really fucked up cop.
Yeah, because he lost his service revolver to a criminal. He's in a rocky relationship, because that's how we introduced to him. In a rocky relationship.
Mostly seems it's his fault. Because the O'Toole, like the guy who plays the chick, actually she was so kind and nice.
But he's got too much time on his hands. He's got a boss that likes to yell in his ear, the great Frank McRae.
At his mic ear.
And then on top of that, he's in contention with other cops who feel like, why you give up your gun, and now we lost 2 good cops because of you. Especially considering the fact that he wasn't even supposed to be there.
Yep, it's.
So I look at Jack Case as another version of Dirty Harry,
Yeah, sort of. Yeah, it's
because
also...
especially it's based in San Francisco, so it's like, yeah, he's got that Dirty Harry mentality.
In a way, this movie still had a lot of 70s vibes as a crime movie. On the other hand, in another way, of course, like especially the soundtrack by Horner is so 80s, and listening to it again is like there's a lot of cues in the soundtrack that he reused in Commando.
Yes, I noticed that.
Yeah.
Like he reused certain elements of songs in Commando, and you know what? That some musical composers will do that. They'll take different interpretations of a song and just add a new spin on it.
I actually really like that, because that gives like the composer like a signature. Of course, everything is better like than the Hans Zimmer. But that one is really, also basically Kulturis, had a lot of movie, a little bit of Conan in a lot of movies. So actually I really like that, but it's also so interesting when you listen to it in the first movie, which was 82, and the soundtrack feels so fresh and so avant-garde for an 82 movie, while when you listen to the soundtrack from the second movie, which was 1990, like already beginning of the 90s, it feels like a throwback to the 80s.
Yeah, like outside of certain tweaks, they pretty much like use the same score, and that I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah,
because the music in 48 Hours is great. I love it. Has tense moments. It has this little action beats. and it's everything you want in a gritty crime movie.
Was also like the first thing is like I gotta buy the 48 Hours soundtrack because it's fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, because I was afraid I have to comment on something. It's just such a, his cues they're hitting hard. And they're fantastic.
And it doesn't help by having the Bus Boys do some great songs in there. The boys are back in town.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's just a great soundtrack overall.
But in general, it's also interesting when you compare both movies. That even though the second one was like in 1990, which a lot of movies still felt like a little bit 80s, but I think that another 48 Hours, maybe one of the first action movies who really felt like a 90s movie.
It was like the action stuff very much felt 90s.
But the dialogue,
dialogue and much more action involved in that film, and it definitely like reflects the incoming massive action movies of the 90s.
Yeah.
Like you had your big 80s action films, and then the 90s kind of took it to another level. And 48 Hours was like starting to really go towards that.
Yeah. So it's really interesting with both movies that they were like at the beginning of like two different eras of two different decades.
And the fact that you said it, 48 Hours still has the elements of the 70s.
Yes.
It's like 48 Hours is like a mixture of Driver and The Warriors combined into one.
Absolutely. It's so interesting to compare both and also the first one, of course, like the impact they had like on the buddy movie genre.
Yes, that's another thing. The buddy cop, buddy partner thing. It has elements back then in earlier films, but this was like the launch pad for them to say, let's put two odd pairings together and make it work.
Exactly, and that's of course this is also like Walter Hill loves to do it, and in a certain way, as we talked also last week, it's the more Walter Hill movies you watch, the more one could get really a little bit angry that his influence on cinema is not as recognized as with other directors.
Yeah, because he really had a unique style with how he shot and choreographed his films, and I can't wait to not only talk these. We're talking these two movies, but next week when we talk Trespass, that is a movie that I can watch every time and catch new things on it. But also, you can just see his signature style in it.
And here, I have not seen the new 4K editions of both movies, but I watched the remastered Blu-ray, and the colors in it look amazing. And also here, what you can also see with the style of Walter Hill is, I think there's not a lot of directors that are capable of capturing the nightlife, the life of a city.
Oh yeah.
As Walter Hill. So with Walter Hill, the city is a character in the movie.
Yeah, he does a great job of making sure, because he did it with Streets of Fire.
Yeah, also with the Warriors, it's
same.
It's very much like that.
He makes sure to not only focus on the character, but the entire environment around it, the people in it. Whether it was the hookers, whether there's the civilians. Everybody has their
the redneck bar.
The redneck bar, the classic redneck bar. That's what, to me, that was the scene that really showcases Eddie Murphy's ability.
Yes, because that was like, the moment like they got in is like it was so much tension because Jack, Notice's character really let Eddie there be on his own and like let's see how he fares in there with all the races.
Yeah, because as soon as they walk in there, Reggie's like, oh, the brothers ain't ain't like this type of place.
Yeah.
And Jack's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh, this is my kind of place. I love this.
There's only one dialogue I would have changed. You know, uh, when Eddie wants his drink and the bartender's like, "Oh, you want a black Russian?" He should have totally said, "Do I look Russian to you?" Like,
I guess that was the only drink that he had on there that
Yeah.
had the title black in it.
you know, sometimes it's hard to come up with racist stuff. You know.
But yeah, like that scene is full of tension. It's full of racial jabs. But it's so good because Eddie carries it.
Yes, and this again shows the talent of Walter Hill to create such a scenery, and you know, you have all the tension, you have all of the words you shouldn't use, and, but everything is just second fiddle to how Eddie Murphy overcomes it.
And he does it with such bravado and such confidence. Like, you're in a bar with literally an entire crew of rednecks having a good time.
Yeah, and
And
everybody.
just because he flashes a badge, which by the way is Kate's badge, and he made sure
Yeah.
to cover Kate's face.
Yeah.
Just because you got a badge doesn't mean that they just gonna let you walk in there and just straight up
Yeah.
disrespect their bar.
There was a very lynchy atmosphere in there.
Ain't like, don't this fool didn't. So, you know, there's some suspension of disbelief that you got to, like, it's a movie, because
Yeah.
I don't know if that would happen in real life, that he would just embarrass them. Even if he was a real cop, there'd be
Yes.
some fucking legit fight.
Because there's a lot of scumbags in this world that also kill cops.
And there's some scumbag cops, you know?
Yeah, it's like there's scumbags everywhere. Let's just say there's a lot of scumbags in this world.
Yeah, and so, but again, you know, it's a testament to Walter Hill. It's a testament to Eddie Murphy to let him shine in that. And of course, the biggest quote of that whole scenery was, "There's a new sheriff in town. His name is Reggie Hammond."
And of course that he's their biggest nightmare.
So, you know, that scene is one of the most memorable scenes in the film, and definitely, like, people like took notice of Eddie Murphy, and his career just took off from that point on.
And wasn't there also like the one actor said, you know, like where Eddie took the money out is like, wasn't that the actor who also played one of Cooper's sons in Super Mario Brothers?
Oh, I want to say yeah, but I'm not sure.
Because the face, I was like, I think I know this face.
He looked kind of familiar.
Yeah, he was one of the Cooper. Iggy or Spike.
Oh Lord, Iggy and Spike. But yeah, that was such a great scene, and again, it really goes to show that Cates didn't have to do that, but he knew that if he go in there, they'll make him for being a cop right off the bat. So it's like, let's flip the script and let you do it. And Cates even stepped in when one guy was trying to get away, and he's like, no, you know, I support the law, you know.
Yeah, it's just it's just an upstanding citizen.
Upstanding citizen, respect to the officer.
But it was, this was also so good, that the whole scene, because you always also the feeling that Jack was ready to step in if shit hits the fan. So he was, as we saw later, he was very observing. Also about like the tiny gun and the jackknife. He saw everything.
He saw everything. And another thing, I want to backtrack a little bit to when we first get introduced to Reggie Hammond, because I thought that was a pretty funny moment when Jack goes into the jail and Reggie's just sitting there, Roxanne, singing his song and stuff, and we get the whole conversation between the two, and it's funny how Reggie is saying, I'm not gonna help no cop and stuff, but as soon as he mentioned the name Gantz, like,
Yeah.
Well, I don't like Gantz, so I'll help you with that.
Which is so funny because I have not seen this movie in such a long time. In my head, I always thought that both were cops, and then it was, oh yeah, he was not a cop in that movie.
He was a convict.
He is a convict, which, yeah. And Walter Hill did it in such a fantastic way, and also, of course, with Ray's like adversity against Eddie Murphy's character. That
And,
he, like,
and him saying that he's willing to help him while still in prison,
yeah.
and they overhearing that wouldn't bode too well. Like, oh, you want to help a cop, like you gonna become a snitch, So
yeah,
it's looking at it now, especially in the whole snitches get stitches.
Yeah, it's a miracle that he survived the other 5 years, and they waited to assassinate him, like till he comes out.
Yeah, so it's funny hearing them have that conversation there. And,
yeah, which actually might be one of the biggest plot holes in the second one. It's like, since for all these crooks, it's actually way easier to get to somebody when they're in prison than when they're out.
Well, they established that Kirkland protected him. But
but still, it's
you would think somebody would have gotten him, but if somebody like Kirkland protected him, he must have had a lot of power in the prison.
Also, a fantastic character in the second one.
Yeah, Bernie Casey really, like, you want to see a little more because it's Bernie Casey, but
yeah. In general, both movies have fantastic actors in very minor roles. When we already talked about Brian James, and it's so funny when you watch the first movie, it's like, hey, Brian James finally has a nice guy role, and well, he's also in the second one with a little bit of a different finale.
Yeah, way different. But we do get some movement in the plot when they go see Gantz and Billy's girl. Mainly Billy's girl, and it's another pretty fun scene because they bust in there. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's like it's a funny thing about the movie. It's like there's so much racist terms in there, you almost forget the homophobic terms. Like those two dykes.
Dykes and the other word. But they go there to hassle them to get information, but they didn't budge, and they said, oh, I ain't seen Billy in so long and stuff. I don't even want to see him no more, which is a lie.
Yeah, it's a lie.
But after that, then we get the big blow up between Jack and Reggie, and it leads to one of the funniest fights ever, because as brutal as the fight is, you can't help but notice the stunt double for Eddie Murphy. Every time I watched this movie growing up, I was like, yo, that dude's head is not Eddie Murphy's head.
And there's certain things that get a little bit riskier the better the remasters get with new releases.
Like people sharing the clip from Beverly Hills Cop when he tossed dude over the table, and they pause and you see, that's not Eddie Murphy, that's a stunt.
Yeah. Or for example, like also in Terminator 2, when Arnold is on a bike and goes from the bridge down the canal, and it's like, when it was like,
see, back then,
I know that stunt actor.
Like back then, we didn't have the luxury of HD 4K, so we had nothing but low quality video. So you don't really pay attention until you watch it more and more.
Yeah, and I also think that is something that studios have to take, in consideration when they remaster a movie, since like a lot of these things were actually planned to be back in the day because they knew, okay, what was the quality in cinema, what was the quality or later on VHS, what can we get away with, and this is very much calculated. So personally, I think that when you remaster a movie, that maybe just like not really noticeable, but when you zoom notice enough so the face is a little bit blurred. Because I don't know, like just saying is like that you should always try to capture the atmosphere of the movie when it was originally made with a remaster. And sometimes, as you said, it's very noticeable. So,
But it's understandable because you're not going to put your actors in harm's way.
exactly.
But I just felt like I noticed the stunt double for Eddie more than I can notice for Nick Nolte because.
I mean, also kudos to Eddie that he got like that early in the career already to get a stunt double.
But yeah, they had that big blow up, and again, it's like that they had that fight, they handled it, and they moved on. Normally, like that fight would lead to them like, no, I'm not. But they're stuck together for 48 hours because that's what they gave them, 48 hours to capture Gantz and get the gun back. So in order for them to coexist, they have to just fight, get it out the way, move on. So the movie, I feel like the pacing of the movie works because it showcases that they can have their issues, but they settle it in the brawl. They come clean with each other in terms of, what information do I need to know? And that's where Reggie finally gives them the info on what they did years ago and where the car was, because all that time, they're like, it's about the money.
Yeah. And just, also like when we talk about like the 48 hours, like that there is a clear attention, like a time tension begin, and so it very much works in the pacing of the movie. But also we like, but also goes hand in hand with what we already said that the city is a character in the film. It shows also always like how Walter Hill uses like public transportation in this movie.
Yes.
As we have seen in The Warriors, as we have seen in Streets of Fire, and as we see here, with the subway and with the bus. So in the bus, what we also have seen, of course, like in Red Heat later when we're gonna talk that movie. That's always fantastic, and especially with this time limit of 48 hours, and time is always also something very essential with public transportation. So I absolutely love how he connects like all of this.
Let's talk about the subway scene. That I always love the tension and the drama in the subway. Luther comes out to get the car, which the money is in, and they follow Luther to the subway where he meets with Gantz. The tension there is so thick. I love the shot of Gantz coming up the escalator, right there with just one jacket over, with his gun hidden inside it. It's just perfect capture of this despicable villain coming in. Yeah, like Sonny's in the background just waiting for his cue. But Gantz, the way he shows up in total boss mode and all these people around, and it's something that we'll come back to in the second film because again, it highlights the city, it highlights the bustling neighborhood, the subway, people just doing their thing, and then you got this criminal coming up. You got the cop watching, and something's about to go down, and the tension is just growing, and the music in the background just elevates it. It's one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie. Like, there's a lot of great scenes, but this scene right here encapsulates the grittiness of what is going on in this whole thing. And then when Gantz's cover get blown because he has the gun peeking out, and a regular cop who notices it says freeze and tell him to put the gun down, and he gets taken out, and chaos ensues.
And what is also so good about Walter Hill's direction is, since it's a public space, you have a lot of people in the background. You have like normal people living their lives, and the way you shot it, that you basically, when you're the audience, you notice the people, but the characters you want to highlight are always highlighted, like Gantz, like Billy, and of course Luther. So, so these are the things that when you are young and watching it, you just see it's cool. But later, when you are more into movies, you just realize, wow, this is just such a mastercraft in shooting a scene. And like I said, the subway scene I think is also the highlight of the movie.
And then how Gantz and Billy gets away. They get into the last car of the train. Jack is coming. He's checking every car and stuff, and from the outside. And as soon as he sees him, the police shows up and holds him up, and they get away. It's like
And I also love how you just winks.
Yeah,
This is up with.
Yeah, it's a great way to end that sequence.
Yeah.
Because the bad guys get away, Jack has to be reprimanded. Gets held up, and now Reggie chased Luther into the hotel, so now he's out on the streets. So Jack gets it both ways. Like, he loses the villains, he loses the convict that he's supposed to have right next to him. It's like, man, how am I gonna get over on this?
And of course, later when they have the the alteration with the bus, when you see the bus, you lost somebody with a bus.
You lost a stolen bus.
Oh man.
But yeah, it really just highlights Jack's day. And, he don't know whether or not he's going to see the convict again. Because Reggie could have just said, fuck it, and escape. And just say, you know what, man, I'm free, But, Reggie, it goes to that bond they built. Even if they were throwing insults at each other, they have a bigger goal in getting Gantz and getting the money back. So Reggie knows he can't do that without Jack. So he goes to a club the bus boys are playing. It's a club that he favors over the redneck club.
Yeah.
And he makes a call to Jack, to make sure that, hey, Jack, I'm at the club where the brothers at, And the funny part about this, when Jack gets there, he tells him, Reggie tells him, I got a piece. And Jack was like, I'm not going to bother.
Yeah, at this point,
At this point. And Reggie's trying to get some. So he asks Jack, hey, Luther's had it up in the hotel across the street, but I can go over there with this girl, get some trim. And by the time the morning comes, then we go after Luther. So Jack gives him some money. And the funny thing about this scene is when the bartender come up here and said, Are you come here regularly? And Jack was like, yeah, this is my favorite place. And, he stands out like a sore thumb in this entire place. And yet he said, this is my favorite place. It's the little subtle comedy bits that you see throughout this film.
And just it is a wonderful thing, like I said, which is also a lost art sadly today in a lot of movies, is this just situational humor that you can totally see somebody who has a rough almost 48 hours already would say.
Yeah.
It's just because at this point from his point of view, it's like, well, you're living in a prayer, right? On the same with Bon Jovi's lyrics.
But again, Reggie think he's gonna get some, and Luther comes out the place, and he's like, "Fuck!" So he goes back to get Jack, and that's where we get the entire bus chase sequence.
Yeah.
And again, I posted this on one of my favorite car chase scenes a couple years back. It's a short chase, but it's intense.
Yeah.
Because this is where Luther meets his fate, and this shows just how crazy Gantz is. He gets the money from Luther, but he's like, well, fuck it, I'm gonna kill you anyway.
Yeah, it's like the same. It's the same in the beginning when he shoots the other cops, where it's just that's his. It also establishes him as being like a real scumbag that also with no redeeming qualities. And I think this is also so important that What the Hell did this, to have like this, to show these different levels of what a convict is. From, Gant's just like unredeemable, keep away from society, to like, crooks that just want their money and like Luther or like Eddie Murphy's character.
And I think Walter did not want to show Gantz killing the girlfriend.
Yes, I think nobody wanted to see that.
Because she died. We get no mention of her after he kills Luther. And you just know that she's a witness, so why keep her alive anyway?
Yeah, it's not like, it's not like he's very big on keeping his word.
Yeah, so I felt like that was a director's choice of not having shown her get killed, but she died.
Yeah, most like, it's like Tony Soprano in the final episode. Yeah, he died.
And it just shows just how bad Gantz is, because she was caught in the middle of all this, unfortunately. And that bus chase, with them going back and forth shooting the bus and stuff, it was short, but it was entertaining. And Gantz and Billy got a victory because they escaped.
And this is also what was also like very good, like in the whole chronology of the movie, is how with every scene, with every step, and with every obstacle, that Shaq, at the end, he doesn't have a fuck left to give, and he just shoots.
Yeah, because after that loss,
the
boss was pissed, and that was pretty much going to be the end of the whole thing right there.
That tirade was glorious. Like Frank McRae, as you said, like he's like the gold standard of
screaming boss,
of previous bosses. And however, like the way he racially offended everybody.
Like he didn't care. He did not care.
And he even doubled down, like, yeah, you heard me.
And then Jack tried to come in and say, he's the best partner I ever had. And you're like, just because you said that don't mean shit to me. Oh man, that's what you call a boss that just don't give a fuck.
Yeah, I mean, it was understandable from his point, because it's his head that's gonna be.
And I felt like between him and Inspector Todd from Beverly Hills Cop, it's like, who do you want to get yelled at more?
Yeah. But also, if sadly, of course, Frank Ray is no longer with us, but if he would be still alive, we should hire him as the next boss of the Secret Service.
Yeah, because he don't fuck around.
Yeah.
Even in Last Action Hero, he was yelling so much, steam was coming out. He was just spitting gibberish.
And this is also the thing, we've talked about already, Last Action Hero, what all people not got, that people in that movie parodied like the characters they were famous for. Hey, Chase! First visit of
we're almost an hour in. This is the first comment.
Maybe YouTube already shut us down.
But yeah, then we get to the finale, and this is where we talk about the women in the movie.
Those dykes, huh?
Those dykes. They talk about, oh, Billy ain't coming. I don't even want to see Billy. Yet Billy shows up.
Yeah,
willingly and accepted him back in.
Exactly.
And when we get the clue from Keyhole that the bus was dumped in Chinatown where the woman lived, that gave Jack Case the clue.
Exactly. And sometimes maybe Billy was not coming, but he certainly put it in.
And the fact that you get the money from Luther and the first thing you do is go see the woman? Come on, that makes no sense. As a criminal, you got the money, get the hell out of town.
Yeah.
But nah, you got to go see the woman because you got to get some. So
like Robert De Niro and Goodfellas would have gotten rid of everybody for such
everybody. But they got to go and see the woman. So once Jack got that from Keyhole that the bus was dumped in Chinatown, they like, oh, so they went back to Chinatown to see the woman. So that's where the final act comes into play. And what a glorious final act it is.
Your dick will ultimately always betray you.
It will. Because the first thing we see, like when they get up into the apartment, Jack has Billy's girl. So Eddie, Reggie goes to take out Billy. And you see Billy sitting down shirtless and stuff, looking like he's getting ready for some action.
Yeah.
But instead it's Reggie holding the gun. And this is where we get the legendary Billy pull out the knife.
Yeah, he's whipping out something else.
And he's looking at the knife, he's looking at Reggie. And then he has the sinister laugh.
The classic Sonny Landham. I have never seen him like in Office when he was a politician. But I just imagine him, being like in his political career afterwards and having this laugh. And everybody else like, okay.
He probably got the knife there as a tool.
I mean, Arnold did, when he was governor. He pulled out.
I mean, just think about it. Arnold, Sonny Landham, and Jesse Ventura, the Predator. They all was part of politics.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Jesse Ventura and Sonny Landham, two of the most sane people on planet Earth.
But yeah, and so Billy knew right then and there his fate was sealed, but he was gonna go out his way.
He's still Sonny Landham. I wouldn't even be surprised if that was not in the script and he just took out his knife anyway.
Yeah, because we never saw the knife the entire film.
It was just Sonny Landham's knife that he had on set. So it was just like,
fuck it. Oh, you got a knife? Oh, cool. We'll add that into the film.
Yeah, I was like, the only thing missing was, of course, that he cuts himself.
We'll save that for the film.
Yeah.
But yeah, Billy bites the dust, and then we get to shoot out with Gantz. What I don't understand is Gantz puts the blonde chick away, and she must have been just mad that she lost her meal ticket. Soon as Jack comes in the room, she attacks Jack. Like what the fuck is that accomplished? It's the little things that make you think about what these women will do.
Blonde white women not always making the best. Not known for making the best decisions.
Like they shooting. Get the hell out the way. Get under the bed. Just hide.
Yeah.
And then another thing is the cinematography of the alleyways.
Yeah.
The fogginess, the smoke.
The ride. It's so gritty. It's just those night shots, and then Walter Hill does night shots so well.
So well. Like every movie I watch of Walter Hill's, his night shots are just like you don't want to be there. It's like you see this area, nothing but fog, nothing but steam, and all this stuff. You won't want to walk there. Hey, like there's trouble hiding behind all that smoke.
Which is always so, of course, James Cameron, rightfully, everybody says, oh, he's the master of the night shot. He does it so well. Walter Hill not really behind on that, like also a master, and also like another one who does it so well, of course, as we've seen in True Romance with Tony Scott.
Yeah, Tony Scott.
also very great. This gritty night shots that really capture like the dark parts of a city, like the things where you don't want to be.
I'll even throw Abe Ferrara in there, the director of King of New York. He does great night shots too.
Absolutely,
But yeah, just the atmosphere and the seediness of those alleyways. Jack goes one way, but then Reggie sees the way that Gantz went, and he takes that route. And the build-up, when Reggie comes out of the smoke, Gantz is hiding there. The way they shot Gantz hiding while also seeing Reggie coming through, it's so surreal to me.
It is, and that's like the thing that Walter Hill is also so good about. He's he almost makes again, like you say, he loves comic books that we saw in the Warriors and with Streets of Fire. And this is also you can imagine it being drawn by a comic book artist. You can imagine totally, that you have like these blues in there, and the red light tones and the green lights, and it's so surreal. It's almost like you're coming out of a fever dream.
And that's how it was when you see Eddie come through, and then you see the gun, while Eddie's in the background with the gate in between him and that gun. The way it was shot was just surreal, and it's like, man, I just love it, and it's like, how you not, if you're from Eddie's perspective, how you not see it? But at the same time, the way it's shot, you could tell that he's just hiding in the shadows.
Yeah.
But yet the gun in his view is right there for you, that he can just see Eddie or Reggie, and that is just so well done.
And then of course Jack just having lost all the he never had a lot of patience, but lost all the patience, and he's just.
I felt like right then and there, Jack had his Dirty Harry moment.
Yeah.
Because he was in the I don't give a fuck mode. They could take my badge, whatever. This motherfucker done. He's like, and he said, it's over. End of story.
And also, like, he got it, and then he made sure the Gantz is gonna be dead.
But another key element here that came into the second one was Gantz holding Reggie, and Reggie's like, go ahead, blow his brains out. But then when Kate takes the shot and hits Gantz, Reggie's like, are you crazy, man? I was just bluffing. He didn't expect him to shoot him.
Yeah, it's okay. And that's another thing I haven't mentioned yet, but what is also so fantastic about Walter Hill, and maybe it's also like what's the correct term of somebody who does the audio for moving the sounds? There's barely any other director where you can feel the weight of a gun so much of in the movie.
Especially a cop's gun. Like,
yes.
The fact that he had Jack's gun. And you see it just in that silhouette shot.
And also, but when it's fired, the sound, it feels.
Oh, yeah, that's another thing. The gunshots really do feel great or sound great in Walter Hill.
They feel like it's like, fuck, that must be an impact.
Like, they use great sound effects for the guns.
Yes.
They sound authentic as fuck. Like, especially in Another 48 Hours, it's like, yo, those gun sound effects sound really damn good.
And this is also something what people always have in mind when they get, for example, a remastered version of a movie. Very often, the gun sounds, because when you do, of course, most of the older movies are either like recorded in mono or stereo, just for two speakers. So they make it surround. They very often re-record sounds that were not original, and very often they fuck it up. For example, I think like in the Batman remakes, for 4K. A lot of people were criticizing that you shouldn't watch it with the new audio because everything sounds completely different and the movie loses like the original impact. And this is also something not a lot of people think about, like the importance of sound, like not only the soundtrack but also like when you fire a gun, how this like sounds and also feels. And with this, when a gun was fired in the Walter Hill movie, it's not only that you hear it, but you almost feel the vibration.
Yeah. And you could just feel the impact just not being there. It's like, yo.
Yeah.
But yeah, the way Jack took out Gantz was great. And I got to say it. You already shot Gantz. Why the fuck are you gonna try and run towards this man that outshot you? Why? He knew his fate, but it makes no sense to run at him.
Yeah.
And Jack just put him down straight up.
Yeah. It's just like I said before, it's the aftermath of the movie. I wouldn't want to do like the paperwork.
Jack got a lot of paperwork to do. But you know what? He don't care because at the end, Eddie gets what he wants. Reggie gets, the girl. He gets to spend the time while Jack waits outside. And then on top of that, he got his money. And the money that will play a massive part in the second movie will be in the car waiting for him when he comes out in 6 months. Because they stressed that he only has 6 months left on his deal.
Yeah. It's also like, basically after like this whole thing, they should have just let him go. I think he proved himself.
But they like, you're a convict, you're gonna finish out your term. And then we get a little play of Reggie lighting the cigarette for Jack, putting the cigarette lighter in his pocket, and Jack is like, well, actually Reggie was like, well, I'm a good man now. I wouldn't do anything to stay like a criminal, right? And Jack's like, can you give me my lighter back? As is to say, you still a criminal because you still got criminal tendencies. And then he gives him lighter back, and we get off with the movie ending with the bus boy singing "Boys Back in Town."
Little did we know that we already witnessed the villain of the second movie in the first one.
Yeah, because it took a while. Like Eddie Murphy blew up after this. He did Trading Places, and then of course Beverly Hills Cop. Yeah. Less said about Best Defense, the better, because even Eddie don't want to acknowledge that film. And another movie that we do have to talk about though is The Golden Child.
Yes.
You gotta talk The Golden Child. I always love watching that film.
I know, it was also one of these movies that flopped so big. So they sold it so cheap to the V, so it was basically all 4 weeks it was on a TV station, like in Germany. Like it was consistently, it was just one of this movie where it's like, oh wait, I missed it this time. I'm gonna see it like in 3 weeks.
that was played on TV more than any other outside of Beverly Hills Cop. But yeah, Eddie Murphy blows up, and this 1990, he was coming off what he considered was a disappointment, but I consider it a classic, and that's Harlem Nights. Like Harlem Nights is a classic to me.
I haven't seen it in a long time.
Man, look,
yeah.
But we do another 48 hours, and I will say right here, I love the first 48 hours film, but I think another 48 hours is just as good.
It's very underrated.
It's underrated. It's much more action, considering it's a sequel, so it had a little bit more budget. Mm-hmm. Eddie's more involved in this because it's part of his production team, and he's the known bigger star now. So the roles are reversed.
Yeah.
Now Jack Cates character is more trying to play towards Reggie to please him. But again, there's broken trust. And the reason why his stay was extended in prison from 6 months to 5 years was because somebody set him up. They dirtied him up, and they found charges on him to extend his prison sentence. And it plays into the overall theme of not only trust, but somebody out to get Reggie. And
yeah, that's so unrealistic. Something like that would never happen in the U.S. juvenile system.
And on top of that, the movie plays up on the theme of bikers.
Yeah.
And we get 2 bikers in the film. And the underrated character, in my opinion, in Tyrone Burroughs, played by Brent Jennings. Underrated, I say, because he is a businessman. He works for the Iceman, and he have no fucks given about anything other than you messing up the Iceman's business, you got to be taken out.
And even in the certain phase of that, he was cold as ice.
He's like, he got his ear blown off, and he still was about business.
Yeah.
I thought we needed more of him too, because I liked his approach of certain things.
In general, like both movies have very interesting sub-characters in there, and this is also like Walter Hill trait, which makes the world that he creates so realistic and so plausible, is that even the smallest of characters have their own story and have like really character traits that makes them unique.
Yeah, and to me, like, each character, Walter gives them a unique feel about it.
Yeah.
No matter how small.
And it's like, it's a very common movie trope for sequels, which we see in a lot, and very often actually done pretty good, is that the brother of the bad guy from the first one wants revenge.
And it wasn't even like yeah, he wanted revenge.
But he was hired to do so.
But he wasn't hired to kill him. He was hired to kill Reggie.
Yeah.
But he was a bonus. Because, the pig that killed my brothers there, we can kill him and Reggie and call it a day.
Exactly.
And I have to say, Andrew Dividoff, we talked about him backstage, the Wishmaster.
The fucking Wishmaster, yeah.
This was like his breakout role.
Yeah, and he also did such a fantastic role that, like the way the style his character, the way he acted, it was different, but totally when you see, that's totally against his brother. Like
they even said that he's worse than Gantz.
Yeah.
So it's like if you thought Gantz was bad, this guy is even crazier. And he played it so well, and that's why I use that quote that I have. I'm gonna use a quote from the second film, because this quote always makes me laugh, and it's so intense with how he delivered it. But yeah, like the biker gang, and they have this brotherhood, and the opening scene was very damn eye-opening, considering the fact that they're hired to do a mission, and then the police show up in the middle of nowhere. It's like in the desert.
That's also a very Walter Hill trope.
Yeah, we saw it in the first film.
And also in Streets of Fire, the movie starts with establishing the threat of the bad guy, and only later introducing the protagonist.
Yeah. It's different when we talk Trespass.
Yeah.
But
I haven't seen Trespass yet, but
that's next week.
Okay. Yeah. I think it's on Amazon to rent, because the DVD is like basically sold out.
Yeah, but how they really showed their villainous side. When they take out the two police that show up, and the poor guy that was managing the bar, but he should have never reached for the phone. But they was gonna off him anyway.
They would have offed him anyway. It's like the moment shit happened, he should have just, I don't know, like
he tipped off the lady cop as soon as she walked in by looking their way.
Yeah.
So he was already under the guise of getting them arrested. So hey, it is what it is. But it just shows the villains being complete dirtbags and lunatics. And one thing I would say, Walter Hill does a fantastic job of introducing the villains and then building up to seeing our lead heroes.
Yeah.
We find out that Case is on the stakeout mission where he's investigating Tyrone Burroughs. And that goes crazy because the guy that Burroughs was talking to pulls a gun on Jack, which gives Jack free reign to take him out with his gun. Mass explosion happens. Tyrone gets away. But then when everybody shows up in terms of the police force, they like, well, Jack, you shot an unarmed man. And they're like, what do you mean? This guy shot at me. And you can just feel the intensity from Jack. They're like, this man shot at me.
What is this? Like,
how are you saying that I shot an unarmed person when this man shot bullets at me? And then you can't find the gun.
Exactly. This is like ultimate horror of a policeman because you use the planting guns, but not use that somebody takes the guns away from the crime.
Yeah.
And of course, this was the doing of the Iceman.
Well, it was the doing of the Iceman, who was in clear, plain view, but we don't know it, and his underling, who is played by Ed Ross, Inspector Frank Cruz. Now, we know Ed Ross in a bunch of films, and I know you talked about him backstage.
Red Heat. He's the Russian. He's the evil Russian.
He's one of the new characters in the film. Kehoe is back. Brian James is back as Kehoe, but again, we'll talk more about him later. But yeah, the man shot at Jack Cates, and then all of a sudden they can't find the man's gun. Already trouble's afoot, and Jack is in trouble, and he's got a new boss.
Sadly,
go ahead.
Sadly, because usually we want McRae, we always want.
But yeah, he's got a new boss from Internal Affairs that is really all over Jack. It's like this man, and we've seen this countless times in film. When you got one person whose main job is to make the protagonist's life a living hell.
Yeah. And
that's all his role was, to take down Jack Cates and put him out of his misery. Not in terms of death, but put him out for good.
Because of course that was the goal of the Iceman. Because he came too close and he's too obsessed with a figure that everybody else thinks that doesn't exist.
And if you got somebody that says the Iceman exists and you like, oh, that's a fantasy. But yet, we've seen it. I mean, we've seen it time and time again. Like, people operate in mysterious ways. And the shadows, they don't want you to know that they actually exist. They want you to say, yeah, I am a fantasy. Keep telling that stuff. But I do exist in the background. And they playing chess with all the pieces.
And the system has no mistakes. The system works as intended.
Yeah. And Jack is losing it because they're after his job, and one of the things that he found at the site when he shot the guy is a picture of Reggie Hammond, because that's the one person that Tyrone Burroughs wants dead.
And
Reggie
who's
Hammond,
just about to be released from prison.
after a 5-year extended.
Yeah.
Because
surprisingly, not after 6 months, but 5 years, as you already mentioned.
Yeah, so he goes to see Reggie, and
He was very happy to see a familiar face after 5 fucking years.
And the trust level is already broken because of that extended 5 years. And it's funny how you see a different tone from Jack in this film. Like, he's still the same Jack, but he's not the Jack that we knew in the first film.
Yes, he lost a lot. He lost a lot of his vigor, and he's skinny. Like, he feels like a beaten dog.
And when Reggie noticed that, I see you got a new haircut, the haircut like represents this new version of Jack.
Yeah.
Like, he's still very brash and abrasive, but you can tell that the chase of the Iceman is wearing him down.
Yeah.
And that he's losing his, what you would say, not only patience, but
sanity.
He's losing his aggressiveness that he used to have.
Yeah, like, he's bigger. He's bravado.
And the way Reggie talks to him through the entire film, and almost like you see Jack kind of catering down to it, is like, that's not the Jack we saw in the first film.
At least he's wearing his bulletproof vest.
True. Because he would have been a dead man. When they see him leave the prison after talking to Reggie, and this is the day that Reggie gets out, the bikers are watching and they like, we can take out Jack. So
2 for 1.
2 for 1. They stop. Jack stops by a diner. The bikers stop there, knock on the window, and then shoots Jack. And they think he's dead. They like, bam, one body down. Then they go together after Reggie in the bus sequence. This is where the action scenes increase in this film, because that sequence with the bus was phenomenally shot.
Yeah. And for sure cost more money than the first one had budget.
Yeah, and you know, they see Reggie in the bus, so they start shooting at it. The driver gets shot. Reggie tries to take control, but they shoot the tires out and the bus flips over. Reggie don't even know how many times the bus flipped. He said 20 times, then he said 17 times. It's like, you're still suffering from the concussion, because the bus flipped a lot of times, but I don't think it was that many times.
And also, like, it at a certain point, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. The bus did flip multiple times, and it got hit by a truck. So, and how again, it's logic. I know sometimes you got suspension of belief got thrown out the window, but how the hell that bus flip over so many times, got hit by a truck, and Reggie ain't got a single scratch on him? His suit still look clean.
It's plot armor.
You can't survive with a bulletproof vest, and then Reggie survived the bus getting rolled over 15 times. It's like, that plot armor was very thick for these two characters. So, you know, right off the bat, they showed our two heroes get supposedly wasted, but they didn't. And that's what leads to them having the team back up. Because now Reggie is tied to the Iceman. The Iceman wanted Reggie dead. So, what are your thoughts on? Go ahead.
And Reggie knows that there is an Iceman, because he tells Jack, then he's like, "Well, where do you think the money comes from the first movie?"
Yeah, because we finally get a little backstory on the whole thing with him and Gantz and where that money came from. And it was from the Iceman, who was, you know, pretty much a dope dealer. And, you know, they stole the money from him. Reggie saw how the Iceman looked. He knows how the Iceman's face, so he can identify the Iceman. But Yeah, the Iceman wants him dead because of that. And it's funny because when you think back at it, from the first film, Keyhole did notice the picture of Reggie when he gave it to Jack, saying, "Hey, this guy is associated with Gantz." But they never really had a face-to-face meet in the movie.
Yeah, which actually is very good to for crafting the second movie, the story, so it makes sense.
Yeah. So I like that you automatically have this mystery behind the Iceman, and now Reggie and Jack has to team up again, but they are completely at odds with each other. Jack is trying to repair the distrust. He's doing everything in his power to help Reggie and to say, "I need your help, and we need to help each other." But Reggie just don't want nothing to do with it. And while he's trying to figure out ways out of the situation, he calls up some people and say, "Hey man, I need money or I need help and stuff like that." Nobody's willing to give him help, so he leads right back to Jack.
Yeah.
So automatically he's stuck with Jack twice.
I think that's also very well crafted by Walter Hill. So it makes all sense because otherwise you would ask, hey, why are those two even working together? But he really made it in a very good situation. It's like that they both had no other option.
Yeah. Jack needs Reggie, but Reggie don't want Jack. But then at the end, he needs Jack.
Yeah, a lot of this movie is a lot of criticism by some people who say, oh, it's just basically like a copy paste from the first one. But I totally disagree. It may have like a similar structure, but there's a lot of differences in the movies, especially.
Let's talk about the similarities. Number one, the bar scene. They go into a bar, but this time, Jack is the one that's more leading in the way. Reggie is in the background watching a girl do her pickpocketing thing, and he bribes the guy saying, "I can get your money back, but I need some pay on it too." So while that's going on, Jack is investigating, and he gets in trouble with some bars. A guy who he felt was wrongly arrested, even though he looks like a scumbag. So I'm like, yeah, that was justified. and Jack gets into the bar fight.
Yeah, and of course also the finale, where once again Reggie is a human shield.
That too, but we'll get to that. We'll get to
but
that.
But I also really think that it's not a bad thing sometimes when you copy something and you just reuse it in a similar but still a different way.
Yeah, the second part that was copied, seeing the villains in Chinatown with a hooker.
Yeah.
And that scene was similar to the first, but different in the way that this time they didn't bust through the door. The villains got the advantage by shooting first. And you had the motorcycles.
I forgot the name of the Asian character. Actually, and also in a lot of movies who just open the door and gets wasted. I forgot his name, but he's in a lot of movies too. And it's like he's like, oh, poor guy.
Poor guy. But yeah, there was differences throughout it. But and sometimes it's good to like. One of my criticisms of Ghostbusters 2 was that it just felt the same like Ghostbusters 1. As much as I enjoyed Ghostbusters 2, it didn't deviate enough for it to be different.
But here it's like similar but different. Like in a lot of ways, like I said, it's like basically turned around.
Yeah.
And it's more done that it mirrors something, not copies something.
Like the after the bar scene, Kate's punched Reggie to get back at him for the fight they had at the prison. And Reggie was like, fuck this shit, I'm not dealing with you no more. But again, he can't find options to get out of the situation, so he has to go back. And one of the things that before he left prison he he was talking with Kirkland, paid by Bernie Casey, and Kirkland threatened him there. Like you
Yeah,
got the outside, you got the Iceman hunting you on the outside, but yet if you don't follow Kirkland's promise that you made, he can kill you from the inside while you outside.
Yeah, and this is what I really like about this movie, that it introduced like more parties of interest in there. You know, also the bad guys, the Iceman paid like the biker gang to do something, but the biker gang was, of course, just hired and they didn't have any loyalty to the Iceman. So you have like their conflict of interest. And then, of course, also with Kirkland, you know, as audience is like, hey, may he be the Iceman or not? Or what is like his goal? What is all this stat about that Reggie has with him? And we actually find out that later there's no, actually, like Kirkland has actually noble goals for the money.
Yeah, because like he protected Reggie, and this is why I think Reggie was still alive 5 years. He protected Reggie in prison, and when you really look at it, when Kirkland says, "I can be a threat to you while I'm inside and you're out there," that shows the power that he has. That he can get people on the outside to take you out.
Like we said in the pre-show, he had the only jump scare in the movie.
Yeah, you know. So yeah, like he was just as much of a threat to Reggie as the Iceman and the bikers were.
Yeah.
Like if you don't uphold your promise to him, you don't want to be hunted down by people on his side.
Yeah, and also again, shout out to Walter Hill. When you introduce like more parties, but the movie was still very easy to follow. It also speaks, of course, for the director.
Yeah, like most movies, they get so convoluted with introducing all these little story elements and stuff like that. It loses focus. This one, I always felt maintained its focus.
Yeah, very easy to follow. Despite having so many more parties in there than the first one.
So, you know, Jack and Reggie's just stuck together. Like they can't get away from each other. And Jack needs Reggie more than Reggie wants Jack. Like, yeah, Reggie is forced to go back to Jack, but Jack needs Reggie more because it's the whole Iceman thing. And when Burroughs like, yo, the bikers are getting sloppy, you know, they're causing more problems than what we asked for, the Iceman goes and take out the leader of the biker gang.
Yeah.
And that pisses the other two off big time because that's the Brotherhood.
Yeah, so they're taking out like the Iceman's most important negotiator.
Yeah, because the leader was the negotiator, and once they took him out, now they ain't got their leader. All bets are off. And I gotta say, like, Burroughs' death scene, we mentioned it earlier, is it's one of those death scenes that's scary, but at the same time, it's like, this guy had no fucks. He knew his fate. Just like Billy knew his fate, he knew his fate. But he still got to throw a jab at the bikers to say...
Exactly. And he went out like a boss.
He went out like a boss. And it's like, a character like that, like, yeah, he's bad, but at the same time, it's like, he's respectable. Because he did not crumble. He did not whimper. He got shot in the air. He laughed it off.
Yeah.
And he told him, Reggie Hammond is still the goal.
And just like, you know, goes out like this and still puts his boss over.
Vince McMahon needed that.
Yeah. Instead of like, Laurentiis.
or Kevin Dunn and shit.
Yeah, exactly. Needed somebody.
But again, it's like, I really enjoyed the pacing of the film. I mean, even if it's not, according to the critics, it's not as good as the first, but to me, it's just as enjoyable as the first.
Yes. for so many reasons, like already said, that both were like 8 years apart, so they're playing like in a different time, like in a whole different time basically. So it's so I think that maybe a lot of people wanted to have like a dialogue in the first one, but now it's not 1982 anymore. Of course, then Walter Hill uses dialect and was covered in '99.
So like once Price get here's the thing. Once Price gets Ice, because Price was the leader of the biker gang. Once he got taken out, Reggie has the theory of the Iceman as a cop. Because how else would they take this man out when he's the leader of the biker gang that's after him? And if they got the information on him, they're like, he must be a cop. So Jack in his mind says, oh, it got to be the DA, like the internal investigator, because he's been on my ass all movie. So he takes Reggie over to the courthouse where they are in charge of putting him on notice. It's got to be him. And Reggie's like, no, it's not him. It's not him. But Jack keep pushing the case and like, it's him. That just shows you just how far. Not only that, it shows how far Jack is in terms of stress, being pushed out, the dealing with the Iceman and stuff like that. Like, he is just so hell bent on trying to make this guy out to be the Iceman that when Reggie says it's not him, he just don't want to believe it because this guy's been all that.
It's a very human thing, that's like basically our personal need, that everything in our head is coherent. And when you already built, it's up like, oh, this must be the truth, then it does everything possible. So his worldview still stays the same.
So it was at that point, Cates was pretty much done. He was packing up. But one last thing that he had was that he still had the bag of money. Reggie's car, when they went to his car, which was in front of Kate's home, he pressed the button and the car exploded. They like, if they laced up his car to blow up. So it's like, regardless, if the biker gang fell, we're gonna have him blow up in his car. So it was like an insurance policy on making sure that Reggie dies regardless. But now Reggie thought the money was in the car, so everything was gone. But Jack had the money in his locker at the police station. Reggie's like, you kept my money in your locker at the police station? Well, who's going to investigate? But that shows that no matter how much distrust was between them, Jack still looked out for Reggie and had that money there for him, just in case. Like, he didn't want to leave it in the car while it's parked out in front of him. Anything could happen there, just like it blew up. So he
actually like a random burglary.
Yeah. So he kept it in his locker. And Reggie having the money now gave him the opportunity to pay off for Kirkland by seeing his daughter, played by Tisha Campbell, the great Tisha Campbell. And, that was money that he was going to give to her to say, courtesy of your father. And just when you think it ends well for him to pay off Kirkland's debt, bam, the bikers show up and they get captured. And this is where we find out who the dirty cops are.
Exactly.
Because Cruz was involved the whole way. And another scene that wasn't mentioned was after the whole thing with the hookers, and they interrogate the Asian girl and got information. They left. Cruz was there. He needed to get a statement from Jack, but Jack was like, nah, fuck that shit. Again, Kehoe is in the movie but we don't see him and Reggie face to face. So again, Walter Hill knew in order to make Keyhole the Iceman, he had to keep those two characters separated. Even in the first film, the fact that he saw that in the first film, these two characters never interacted, like gave him the idea that Keyhole had to be the Iceman and that they should never interact until the very end.
Speaks to Walter Hill again. I still wish we also said this like in the pre-show already that he had played a bigger part in this movie, because it's very hard as an audience to detect it, like that he's the Iceman. I still I want it to be hard, but I still wish when you rewatch the movie that you watch, this is a clue, this is a clue, this is a clue, and it doesn't like Walter Hill doesn't really throw you a bone in that regard.
Well, to give backstory, Brian James, rest in peace, he said that he had there was 45 minutes of footage cut from the film because Paramount wanted to get it down to a respectable time to put it in the theaters.
I think 95 minutes, so it's even like 2 minutes shorter than the first one.
Yeah, so of course they had to trim it down, and Brian felt like his character got completely cut out the film, and it sucks because James is a great actor, and anytime we get more scenes with him, it's better. We talked about him a couple months ago when we talked Enemy Mine.
Exactly, and it would have been very rewarding for him, especially since he's a very well-known character actor, but he is not a character with a lot of screen time. In Blade Runner, along with so many other fantastic actors, he manages still to be on par with the others. So it would be really nice for him that they would have give him like a really a role where you think he's also like a main feature in the movie.
Yeah, and the fact that his character got cut out so much, it's like now you wish there was a director's cut. Walter Hill's still alive, man. Can we get the director's cut, Walter Hill?
It would be cool, yeah. Hopefully, it would be great because it's like I said, it's really a good movie. It's really entertaining, but the fact that we don't have a lot of Brian James in there, it lessens the impact of who the Iceman is in the end.
And the reveal is still good.
Yeah,
but it lacks, like you said, it lacks the impact. It just comes out of nowhere.
Yes.
And it's like, now you really have to watch the movie again to see the clues, and it's like, it's not enough. Like, you see little clues here or there through the two movies, but it's not enough for you to really say it's concrete that he's Iceman.
Yeah.
And let's get into that shootout. That shootout.
We talked already a lot about guns and Walter Hill, and here you're getting the full glory of
guns. Guns.
And a real bad day to be hookers or exotic dancers.
Man, like that shootout, I can watch over. Matter of fact, I got it queued up right here on the side. The club shootout. I can watch that scene over and over again because it's just a great between the bikers, the cops, the dirty cops, and Reggie. It's like a brawl for all.
It is, and it's also very well directed.
And you got all the people just casually running around trying to get out the way. You got Jack shooting the bikers and the dirty cops. You got the dirty cops shooting at the bikers. You got Reggie shooting at the bikers and the dirty cops. It's like mayhem all over the place. But what I never really caught until later on, Jack Cage shoot the bikers but didn't kill them. Reggie kills the bikers, both instances. Jack takes out the dirty cops. So it's like Jack has to take out the dirty cops because he's a cop himself. But Reggie takes out the bikers who are criminals themselves, just like he is.
Good. I didn't notice that. Good observation.
And it's like, because it wouldn't have looked right had Reggie took out one of the cops, because they're like, regardless if they dirty cops or not, a convict killing a cop doesn't look good on the convict side.
Yeah, it's, if you wanna don't want to go back to prison, it's like it's if he would go to prison.
Yeah, you don't want that on your record that he shot a cop regardless if he's dirty or not. So and when you think about it, like, that had to be a thought process, with Hill and the staff. They're like, we can't have Reggie kill a cop.
And Walter Hill, he just has this eye for details.
The eye for details, the shootouts, the gun sounds. What another thing that's funny is Kehoe just going ballistic with the Uzi. Like, every time he shoots, like, like he was a madman shooting that Uzi. That's what makes that shootout so great, is that everybody's just showing this level of intensity while they're shooting.
It is like that. If somebody uses an Uzi, you gotta act like a madman. Nobody uses an Uzi like in a strategic and tactical way. It's an Uzi, like
the way he did it just made it over the top and hilarious, and I love it. I love it because he had the intensity to use that Uzi and just not give a fuck who he hit.
Yeah. Poor exotic dancers. Poor exotic dancers.
One of them got caught in the crossfire with Divoff's Gantz, Cherry Gantz. She bit him, and he was just calling her all types of names. And Jack was able to shoot him. And it's funny how Jack shot both of them, and yet they didn't die instantly. Because Jack shot him up at least 4 times. I guess he had a Witchmaster spirit inside him.
Yeah.
And his death was pretty cool, getting knocked out the window by Reggie falling onto the bottle truck.
And also, once more, the lighting in the club.
Yeah.
Just
the lighting.
It's perfect. Like the aesthetics, the whole scenery. Can't praise Walter Hill enough.
And again, like, people like to say the same as the first movie. Like, this is completely different.
Yeah.
And I love the grittiness of the first movie's ending, but I love the action of the second movie's ending. And that's the biggest difference. The second movie had more action scenes, and they're fucking entertaining to watch. So the shootout was just awesome. And then you get that last part where now Reggie is in the same position he was in the first film. The Iceman got him.
And to quote the Macho Man, it's a position I'd rather not be in.
and Reggie's like, shit, I'm having a bad day. My car blew up, everything, man. So just shoot me, Jack. Shoot me. And Jack shoots him. And Reggie gives the look of, I can't believe this motherfucker shot me.
He said he should wear a bulletproof vest.
And even the Iceman had the bewildered look on his face. Like, this man, what the fuck? And then he blows the Iceman away. You gotta love how they use strings to pull him back. I think 3 times in the movie.
Yeah, also the same with the female cop in the beginning from the window.
And the other biker, he got pulled back.
Yeah.
And then the movie ends, with the whole, from the first film, Jack goes to look for his lighter after, Reggie gets put in the ambulance. He's like, where's my lighter? And Reggie got the lighter in the ambulance. And the movie ends that way with the boys back in town.
Yeah. Would be interesting technically. I mean, Walter Hill should he like that and this is such a crime that nobody gives Walter Hill any money to do a movie. You know, the last Western that he had to crowdsource and did the best of it. And of course, he had like a lot of fantastic actors like Defoe, like Valls, that was like, oh, we're gonna do it basically almost for free just because we want to walk with Walter Hill. So Walter Hill is still very much respected by actors who want to do stuff with him, but no studio is giving Walter Hill money.
And to me, Walter Hill is just one of those directors that I can watch his movies. You know, like I want to. You know, we're gonna talk Red Heat eventually. You know, because I still think it's a good movie, even if him and Arnold had their differences.
Yeah, it's a good movie. I'm thinking that it would have been a better movie, and also a movie that Arnold would probably be more proud in if Arnold would have just let Walter Hill do his job.
Yeah. And you know, I forgot that he directed Brewster's Million with Richard Pryor and John Candy.
Yeah.
I love that film.
Didn't he also do Southern Comfort?
Yeah, he did Southern Comfort as well.
Which is also a movie that we have to talk, which is it's also such an uncomfortable movie to watch in the best kind of way.
Like I said, Walter Hill got some great movies under his belt. And
yeah.
Like I said, after Trespass, we're going to do some other movies, but we're going to revisit Walter Hill.
Yeah, at one point we're probably going to talk every Walter Hill movie because it's fucking Walter Hill.
Yeah. But yeah, I enjoyed 48 Hours. Both movies, both enjoyable films, and I'll watch them again if I have to, man, because they're just that good. Even if I have to sit through all the racial stuff from the first time.
Yeah. But also both movies, like I watched it as a double feature. Both are roughly like the first is 97 minutes, the second is 95 minutes. So it's really you can do it in once, and it's a very pleasant experience.
Yep. And then next week we'll conclude our Walter Hill trilogy talking Trespass. We return with Bill Paxton.
Yeah, I haven't seen the movie ever, so for me it's gonna be a first-time view. So I'm looking forward to it.
But I'll say this: it takes place in one location only.
I love such movies. And like in German, we call that a Kammerspiel, which basically is like it only plays at one location, and it's like it has like its roots, of course, in theater, and so they're gonna be very interesting because I think that's also something Walter Hill nails. So
and it's perfect because gold is the theme, riches, but then something unexpected happened, and that it leads to some tense moments, and that but like I said, Bill Paxton killed by the Terminator, killed by the alien, killed by the Predator, but he survived Ice-T and Ice Cube. And then just talking Trespass got me thinking we gotta do Surviving the Game with Rutger Hauer and Ice-T and
Have you seen that? You gotta check what the German title is.
But we gotta do that film afterwards because Rutger Hauer, we talk about how great he is.
I love Rutger.
Charles S. Dutton and Gary Busey and stuff.
And we already talked Brian James having a fantastic like a guest showing in Blade Runner. Rutger Hauer has the best showing in Blade Runner.
Yeah, so I think we after Trespass we gotta do Surviving the Game because it's funny how these movies just sync up perfectly well. Like Streets of Fire led to this,
and maybe afterwards, so it's like can do another Rutger Hauer with Flesh and Blood.
Yeah, hey, I'm down for it, man.
Yeah, because Flesh and Blood. Verhoeven and Rutger Hauer.
Yeah, we do back-to-back Rutger Hauer. I'm down for it, man, because Rutger Hauer is amazing.
He was amazing, and also somebody where I still wish he would be here.
Oh yeah.
Such a style.
And shit, we could do a trifecta of Rucker Howell and do the Hitcher.
Yeah, which is probably one of the most uncomfortable movies that I ever watched in my life.
Ever.
But because he can play evil way too well.
That movie is uncomfortable without actually being like having horrific scenes. It's just uncomfortable to watch.
It's uncomfortable, and the thing is also like the strength is that all of the violence is suggested, which makes it even worse because in your head you imagine the worst things. But yeah, sounds like a fantastic plan. And,
so shit, after Trespass, we'll do 3 weeks of Rucker Howell.
Yeah,
that's it. I'm down for that, man.
And then it's your birthday, so we already have
5 Heartbeats, yep.
which is available on DVD, luckily.
Sweet.
So yeah, do you have any other plans this weekend?
I know it's my father's birthday weekend and my aunt's birthday weekend. They about close, and so I'm gonna go over and celebrate with them. I'm most likely taking him to see Deadpool and Wolverine since he wants to go see it. So
that's
we're gonna have a good time.
Good family cinema day. Hey, nothing beats that, and it's gonna be an epic weekend.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be back at Gary's by popular demand.
Nice. That was a great show y'all had last week.
Hey, well, it was fun. And tomorrow we're gonna talk about artists we would like to take on a Conan arc at Titan Comics. And everybody is mentioning 4 artists.
Nice. It won't be long for this will be a regular thing with you and Gary.
Yeah. I mean, it's like right now, like I say, it's like I'm single. I have way too much time on the weekend and no fun.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to that, man. I'll definitely be tuning in.
But of course, family comes first. So spend time with the dad and with the aunt.
Yep.
And if you have time between, you're of course always welcome.
Awesome, man. So great stream, great discussion. I will set up
2 hours, yeah.
I will set up those movies soon as I get done doing things, and we will see y'all next week. The fact that Jace was the only one in the comments. After last week, we had a lot of comments, huh?
Yeah. Well, maybe everybody's watching Wolverine and Deadpool.
Probably is,
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks to Jace for showing up, man. He will join us next week, by the way.
Awesome. Having Chase back, nice.
Yeah. So I just want to say, have a great weekend, everybody. Be safe. Watch movies. Watch some 48 hours and 48 hours. Another 48 hours. And peace out, y'all.